Welcome back, I'm Captain Xavier, and as promised, we're going to start covering training and tactics and gear and loadouts and all that sort of thing in preparation for the big events that we're going to be doing this year as the auxiliary and as the crew. And the first one I'm going to cover is Slings, because somebody asked about it, and I've been asked a couple of times before, and so I figured I'd cover the three main types of slings that I know about, and there are probably more out there, and feel free to give your suggestions and ideas and experiences in the comment section. But we're going to talk about single-point slings, two-point slings, and three-point slings. I personally, on most of my vests, have a single-point sling. It is attached to the upper part of my left shoulder, because I'm left-handed. If you're right-handed, it would be on the right side. It's about a foot long until it gets to the actual buckle. I use quick-release buckles on my vests. I have this system on both this vest, my light vest, and my heavy vest. And they all use the exact same buckles that I get at a local hardware store. You can get them online, you could probably get them at Walmart, you can get them at Joann's, as long as they're all the ones that you use are the same so that they're interchangeable. It really doesn't matter. I then put the other side of the buckle on the blasters. And it varies where I put them. Sometimes I actually have a sling loop, sometimes I just loop it through the stock, sometimes it's looped through the bottom of the handle, depending on the blaster. But they all use the same clip, same quick release buckle, so I can just clip them in and run with it. And I like them. They have some advantages, they have some disadvantages. It has the advantage of being really easy to switch blasters, which occasionally you need to do if your primary goes down and you need to switch to a backup primary. It's nice to be able to just clip, and go. It also has the added advantage that being as long as it is, I can shoulder to the opposite shoulder. So I'm usually left-handed, so I'd normally be shouldering it on my left shoulder. But if I'm trying to clear a left corner, it's very difficult to clear a left corner when you're shouldered on your left shoulder, or to clear a right corner when you're shouldered on your right shoulder. And so I make sure that my slings are ambidextrous, that I can simply switch from one side to the other easily to be able to more easily clear whichever corner I'm trying to clear. So I recommend whatever style of sling you use, that you be able to do that. We'll go over, corner clearing and how you would do it in generally a two-man in your fire group, which we'll be going over fire groups eventually. But one of you is going to need to go left and one of you is going to need to go right. And if you have a righty and a lefty, you're good to go. If you don't, which is going to be the more common case, because we lefties are a commodity, one of you is going to need to be able to shoulder to the other side or draw a sidearm or something to be able to more effectively clear your corner. So that's the system that I use. It has the advantage of, like I said, being very simple. As long as your vest has that option. You can also make single point slings that are basically just a regular sling. We'll go over how we can turn this into basically a single point sling. But I like the integrated ones just because they're very simple, you know where they are, and you swap them out, or you swap the blaster onto them instead of having to swap the whole sling or having multiple slings or what have you. The disadvantage is that once you let go of it, it just hangs free, which is handy. It's very easy to pick it back up. It stays right in front of you. Disadvantage is you really can't run after you've let go of the blaster, because it's hanging a foot down and is going to be banging off your knees. It's nice that it hangs towards your front of your chest so that I can then draw my sidearms, which is generally when I'm going to be pulling my secondaries. And I'll have dropped my primary and I'm somewhere where I really need double firepower, so I'll switch to my dual stripes or whatever. But if I should need to move in a hurry, I'm going to need to stow my secondaries and grab this so I can run again, which has occasionally come up, but not as often as you might think. But for people who are like scouts or the skirmishers, or ones that are going to be doing a lot more movement, that might not be the best option. It works well because I play a heavy and I don't do a lot of running. But I may have to revisit that for some of the future events. Second option is, more of a standard style sling, which you can use it as a two-point sling if you attach it in two places, front and back. And there's different ways that you can attach it, and however you feel like attaching it, or however your blaster is set up to attach it, that's fine. And this has the advantage of, it's more easy to stow. You can slide it to your back and leave it there. When it's hanging in front of you, it generally doesn't hang quite as low. It's got 2 points, which of course makes it a little more stable. Single point will swing about a lot more. And if you have the sling long enough, you can still cross-shoulder to whichever side you need to be able to. And like I said, I consider that very important for HVZ because you're constantly going to be looking for checking corners for ambushes and zombies jumping out at you and that sort of thing. So that is a perfectly valid option as well. The other way that you can use a sling of this style is if you clip them both at the same point or near to it, then it becomes a single point sling. And it operates just like the one I have on my vest, except it goes over your shoulder, which does again allow you to sling it a little bit more. You can move it to your back, but it's going to hang kind of low unless you tighten it up really short. And then there's a good possibility that you might not still be able to cross shoulders. So that's one thing. You can also, rather than putting an arm through it and putting it through your head, you can just put it around your neck. And then you have the complete flexibility to go side to side because the whole system is completely centered. The downside is when you let go of the blaster, it tends to swing to places you might not want it swinging. So keep that in mind. But that is another option depending on how you want to do it. The last option is a 3-point sling, which I don't really have an example of. I've never actually used one. I have seen them. John set his Caliburn up for a 3-point sling. And I did a little bit of research just to understand how they work, and they have a lot more versatility. You can, tighten. You can set it up so that it tightens the blaster directly up to your chest, and it doesn't move while you're running. Same thing with being able to sling it onto your back and tighten it so that it stays there. The disadvantage of both of those is there is a little bit more time necessary to then be able to get the blaster back into a fighting position. And with zombies, you can sometimes really need to be able to get it up in a hurry. But that's something I imagine with enough practice, I've heard and seen videos where it really is pretty much instantaneous. In the time it takes you to get the blaster up, you've already popped off the sling or what have you and are able to get it up in one smooth motion just as easily as you could with either of these two systems. So I don't know how much of a problem that would be. Interestingly, in the research I was doing for this video, there is a huge amount of contention between the 2-point sling users and the 3-point sling users, and some absolutely love the 3-point sling and would never use anything else, and other people absolutely hate it, and seeing some of the bickering going on between the two was kind of amusing. And I'd like to imagine that the single-point sling users are over in the corner just being ignored by both of them, though I don't know if that is the case. But whatever system works for you is the system that you should go for. The only thing that I really recommend is making sure that you can switch shoulders. And if your sling system doesn't allow you to, make sure that your NCO in your squad knows that, and that your fire team member knows that, so that you always check the corner that you are able to check with your sling setup. Or, check the corner of the opposite side with a sidearm, which I've often done that. If I didn't want to switch arms, I would just pull my strife and do that to check a left corner rather than swinging my blaster to the other side. Then once I made adjustments so I could more easily, it became less of an issue. But if you're in a real hurry, sometimes it's easier to just draw a sidearm rather than switching your gun around in your hand to switch a corner. So whatever works for you. But definitely make sure that you have a way of slinging your blaster, because you don't want to just drop it, because that's not a good idea, because you never know when you're going to get back to that area and you don't want, your blaster wandering off. But make sure it also doesn't get in the way of whatever your equipment you're wearing. Make sure that you can move with it. Make sure you're familiar with it. As with any of the training that we're going to be going over, drill is something that is absolutely vital for true, professional or, really functional work. You need to practice with your equipment. So put the sling on, put the blaster on, do maneuvers with it, move around, check corners, run up and down stairs, switch weapons in a big hurry, let go of your primary, switch to your secondaries, put your secondaries away, switch back to your primary, and do that over and over and over and over and over again until you're absolutely familiar with how your blaster works and moves on your sling system, and make sure that your slings aren't going to get caught on the magazines on your pouch, that the slings aren't going to get caught on your radio, on your water bottle, that if you throw it over your shoulder, it's not going to get caught on your camelback, and you're going to be able to get it out when you need it. These are very important things that you need to think about and you need to practice with. Because you don't want to get into a combat situation and discover, oh, this brand new sling that I got yesterday that I don't know how to work has gotten bound up and now I'm dead and half my squad's been taken out. Drill is very, very important. Practice is very, very important. So I don't believe that one system is inherently better than the others. It really comes down to personal preference. It also makes a difference on blaster type. I'm sure some blasters lend themselves to one sling better than another sling. So try them out. If you're not sure absolutely which one you like, try more than one. It's easy, like I said, it's easy enough to take this from a 2-point sling to a 1-point sling. I don't know how easy it would be to convert to a 3-point sling. I'm not terribly familiar with 3-point slings. But figure out which one you really like, do some research, talk to your other squad mates, talk to other auxiliary members, find out what they like. Don't turn it into a flame war over 3-point sling is better than 2-point sling. It's a matter of personal preference. Or everybody would only use one. If one was unquestionably better than all the others, that would be the only one anyone would ever use. That's clearly not the case, so, give your opinions, give your preferences, let the person try it out for themselves. And let me know if there are slings you'd like me to review. That is something I've never really looked into, because I went to this system back in my HVZ days, and I've stuck with it ever since, because it works well enough for me. I haven't had a good enough reason to switch, but I would love to be able to try out some slings. So if NF Strike or Tactical X-Men or Worker Kit or even Amazon has a sling that you'd really like me to take a look at, let me know, and I will look into trying to get a hold of it and seeing what I think of it, because you may change my life and revolutionize my entire loadout. And that would be neat, because I love improving my gear. So let me know what you guys think of this. Let me know if I've got anything terribly, terribly wrong, or if you have good resources for where people can get slings, or information on how to properly use slings, or which slings go best with which blasters, or whatever have you. The whole idea here is to learn and to teach and to make all of our loadouts better. So there you have it. Hope this is helpful. There will be more soon. Thank you for watching.